Welcome to Latham and Watkins. I'm Yenova Mathikoy. I'm the London local lead for the Black Lawyers Group. So Latham and Watkins takes diversity very seriously, and they have different affinity groups, one of which is the Black Lawyers Group. And so in every office of Latham and Watkins, they have a Black Lawyers Group representative and members, and I'm that person here in London. So, of course, here in London, Black History Month is very important to us. And so we started thinking quite a few months ago about what we wanted to do. And, we had different ideas, going to the theater, watching a movie, having a discussion, having someone come speak. And those were all really great ideas, but we wanted to explore the idea of integrating art into our experience as lawyers, and also our experience with our various clients. So we liaised with Lisa Anderson, who's been awesome. She's our curator, curator with the mostest. And, slowly we started to come up with ideas about what we wanted it to look like, different galleries we would want to approach, different artists we would want to work with. And I think what we've come up with is a very dynamic presentation of what contemporary African art looks like today, which is just that it's incredibly rich, it's incredibly diverse. It's got so many nuances and so many oppositions. For as strong and as controversial it is, there's a naivete and innocence to it. And I'm really excited to have some of the artists that are presenting today, that have their artwork up here, speaking today about their art and the different approaches they have, because I think that will help us to see how rich and dynamic contemporary African art is. I'm really hoping that you guys will participate. Lisa Anderson is graciously going to moderate this session, and she's going to introduce the artists, and they're going to speak a bit about their approaches and their artwork.
My name is Lisa Anderson, and I'm the curator of this show. I've entitled it Untitled. You may be asking why. This show is about showing the diversity of African diaspora art in the UK and beyond. And I really wanted to explore the conversation around what is African diaspora art? Is it possible to really define it? In my eyes, it really isn't. There's so much diversity in the work, and that's why I've called it Untitled. So you can put your own title on it for yourself. And I hope that as you go through the exhibition and explore the different views that the set out allows for, you start to think for yourself how you'd want to title it and how you'd like to think about the work.
When I made the decision to make that work, there was a lot of pain because there were a lot of conversations that I had to have with myself about feeling comfortable enough to put myself on display like that. And even though I knew that the reasons why I was doing it came from a very honest and a very sincere place that had nothing to do with sexuality, actually, it had to do with exploring myself. It has to do with exploring my culture. It has to do with exploring me and my place in this place that we call diaspora. It's not actually a place, but there's this feeling of displacement that a lot of diaspora people have. And when I say that, I mean people whose parents, like my parents, are from Ghana, but I was born in England. So everyone who lives that experience, knows that experience of coming across English people if you live in the UK and them saying to you, no, but where are you really from? And you're saying, actually, I was born and bred in Greenwich. And then you go to Ghana and then people say, oh, well, yeah, Bronny. Yeah. So you're English or you're white. So then where do you fit?
So they are part of a collection called Sugar and Spice. And that was investigating the fairy tale and the feminine ideal, being a little black girl and growing up in Western society and having all these images of beautiful blonde women that are the feminine ideal that I could never be, and how those images and how those stories as a little girl playing with dolls that don't look like you, and how does that impact you and your psyche and your kind of perceptions of what beauty is. And so I was kind of exploring that and exploring also just in general the subjugation of women and how women are always kind of taught this story of the fairy tale prince that's going to sweep you off your feet, and so you always have that image of you in the white wedding dress and this whole fairy tale thing that we grow up believing and thinking that, you know, our life's path is to get married and have children, and there's so much more to us as human beings than just that one story. And so I just wanted to kind of investigate those two things, and then tie it back to my Ghanaian heritage.
The body of work I've put on today is based on black masculinity. There's a common metaphor that we use every day, which is where we compare a male body to a V shape. So we often, you know, basically most of my work is based on experiences I had as a young child. So when you're young, you're often, you know, sold this idea that masculinity is all about having this amazing body, you know. So, but as you get older, you realize that there's more to life than actually just having this great body. The whole idea of black masculinity and how we're seen as this icon of fear and desire. So it's like so you've been sold this idea that, hey, you know, buff yourself up, but then when you get older, you realize that, hey, I look intimidating. Because I mean, when I was younger, I used to like invest so much time just trying to look so big, and you know, but you realize that that's not all it is really, because in life it's not just about your beauty. There's more to life than just beauty. So that's basically. But you know, then again, the contradiction is that these things are still nice to look at, you know.
That is the other struggle, is that, you know, the audience, when they think of black art or African art, have a certain aesthetic in mind. Being diasporan artists, our work has yes, it will have the influences of our heritage and our culture, but it will also have the influences of us just being British. And so it's not going to have that African aesthetic. And so where is the market for that? There isn't one. And so it's difficult to then find, one, the right platforms where you're with artists of the same ilk, but also the audience understand the work and want to see the work.
And I want to also inspire, you know, our black youth as well to make that, have that inside them, to be able to create art, you know, because as a diasporic artist, we're really underrepresented. So I think the more of us that are represented now, then the more will come in the future. Because at the end of the day, we see all these black lawyers in here. You know, if you look, you know, 100 years ago, during the years of slavery, this would have been. They would have looked. These people would be smiling in their grave. You know, that it's deep. So.
Sometimes diversity feels like can be a dirty word. We're not looking to have representation for its own sake. We're looking for equality, aren't we? And if there are people who have the right skills, the right experience, who are, you know, worthy of the positions, they should be able to have them. And what can we do individually is just be a true representation of our values. For me personally, have the conversations with the partners you know, be bold enough to speak to power about it. I think, and I just want to applaud at this moment Latham and Watkins for having this, because this is the first time I've ever experienced anything like this. I think it's pioneering, and I think it's a very good sign that the conversation is becoming more inclusive and it's respected, and I think that's, you know, to be applauded. That's my view.
We have in this room, we've got artists, we've got lawyers, we've got, you know, people from all over. I think the kind of invitees were very diverse in terms of what they cover. We generally do not really support people who are really doing well in what they do. You gotta, I mean, look at the people who are represented today, and you see the kind of artwork that they've put out. That is something to be lauded and to be supported. By the same token, there are people from different professions here who have really made it to the top of their professions or are trying to get there. And I think we owe it to each other to actually work together and push people through. We've got people who are CEO of a charity here that supports children who are at risk of, you know, entering into gangs, etc. in central London. Again, he's a CEO who's trying to make a difference in our communities. And that's something, again, that needs to be supported. Shameless plug, Latham and Watkins. Hello, guys. Trying to make it, trying to really push ourselves through this profession in what is quite a competitive environment. We're in the city of London. So again, support. Everybody who's here, I really encourage you to speak to each other. Make networks. I mean, that's why we're here. Make networks, talk to each other, make sure that when you're talking to each other, you realize each other's skills and what we can bring to the table, and take advantage of them, because this is the easiest way to actually move forward together.